The gospel then for this Maundy, Thursday is always from the 13th chapter of John's gospel. Now before the festival of the Passover, Jesus knew that his hour had come to depart from this world and go to the Father. Having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them to the end. The devil had already put it into the heart of Judas, son of Simon Iscariot, to betray him. And during supper, Jesus, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hands, and that he had come from God and was going to God, got up from the table, took off his outer robe, and tied a towel around himself. Then he poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet and to wipe them with the towel that was tied around him. He came to Simon Peter, who said to him, "Lord, are you going to wash my feet?" Jesus answered, "You do not know what I am doing, but later you will understand." Peter said to him, "You will never wash my feet." Jesus answered, "Unless I wash you, you have no share with me." Simon Peter said to him, "Lord, not my feet only, but also my hands and my head." Jesus said to him, "One who has bathed does not need to wash except for the feet, but is entirely clean. And you are clean, though not all of you." For he knew who was to betray him. For this reason he said, "Not all of you are clean." After he had washed their feet, had put on his robe, and had returned to the table, he said to them, "Do you know what I have done to you? You call me teacher and Lord, and you are right, for that is what I am. So if I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also ought to wash one another's feet. For I have set you an example, that you also should do as I have done to you. Very truly I tell you, servants are not greater than their master, nor are messengers greater than the one who sent them. If you know these things, you are blessed if you do them." When he had gone out, Jesus said, "Now the Son of Man has been glorified, and God has been glorified in him. If God has been glorified in him, God will also glorify him in himself, and will glorify him at once. Little children, I am with you only a little longer. You will look for me, and as I said to the Jews, I say to you, where I am going, you cannot come. I give you a new commandment, that you love one another. Just as I have loved you, you should also love one another. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another." The Gospel of the Lord. I can't seem to preach these days without thinking about this pandemic. To be honest, I don't do much of anything without thinking of it. I actually saw someone post the question on Facebook, wondering what we should be doing with our preaching. Should it be centered around this virus and all the havoc that it has wreaked, or not? Should it be grounded in other things, simply in God's Word? But for me, good preaching is always grounded in God's Word and in what is going on in the world around us, the world where we're living and functioning as God's people. So while I can't get away from it, I think that God has quite a bit to say to it, especially as we are in the midst of Holy Week and now Maundy, Thursday. I've always loved the Maundy, Thursday service, one of my favorites in our church year together. For one, I love that absolution that we're offered at the beginning of the service, the gift of forgiveness from Jesus as we come to the end of the Lenten season. Sure, this was a rather unique Lent for many reasons, and I wouldn't fault you at all if you gave up on your Lenten fast early or weren't able to commit the amount of time and dedication that you set out with at the beginning of the season. I mean, seriously, it's been hard to keep track of the day and what's going on in the world and adjust to our current state of living and being. That's been enough, really, to get us through this Lenten season. And I've actually found it quite ironic and in a strange way meaningful that this pandemic began in the midst of Lent. The time in the church year that Jesus begins with walking in the wilderness. These days that have turned into weeks and will be months before we're on the other side are certainly a wilderness for each of us in our own ways. So as we continue to navigate this wilderness, we get to these holy days, the holiest in the church year. And this year, the things that I typically say on Maundy, Thursday do not seem as appropriate. I mean, sure, it is all still a part of this holy and important day, but everything seems different. And I hope that next year this is not the case, but I think that in many ways we will always be different people from here on out. I don't think you can walk through a time like this, a different, unique, stressful, uncertain time like this, and come out on the other side of it the same. What I'm hoping for myself and for the church is that while we may be changed and feel differently about who we are, we're also even more grounded in whose we are and how we live that out. As I've been thinking about this Holy Week and particularly how we function as Christians in this time of pandemic, I can't help but hear Jesus' call that we get each Maundy, Thursday. Jesus says, I give you a new commandment, that you love one another just as I have loved you, you also should love one another. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another. By this, everyone will know. What's the this for you this year? What's the this right now? What is it that will let people know you're Jesus' disciple, you're a follower? For one, you can stay home, wash your hands, take care of yourself. If you can't take care of your own being, you can't take care of others when they're in need. And while you're doing those things, you can pray. Pray often. Pray for those who are sick. Pray for those that are scared and lonely. Pray for an end to all of this. Pray that people feel the love and the light of Christ in the midst of the darkness. Pray for those that find themselves in any sort of need. Pray for the least of these. I've got more, of course, but I'm going to leave you with those thoughts for right now because we've got more time to think about our this. So for now, I want to end my thoughts by inviting you to listen to some songs. They've been my favorites for many years. Craig and Jennifer are church musicians at my previous call in Belvedere, and they've made a couple of recordings. They have several songs that they've put together in a couple different albums, and in them they tell a very powerful story. So this Maundy, Thursday, I invite you to hear two of their songs that remind us how to love one another So first, listen to the song called To the Least of These, and then Be the Church. I'll let you know that in Be the Church, they say the A word a few days early, the word we save until Easter. I know it's early, but it's worth it, I think, to hear the powerful reminder that they sing about. And then I linked to a YouTube video where they are sharing the Lord's Prayer along with a few other friends of mine. So I would invite you to watch that as well. And then you'll find a link at the bottom to finish your time of worship today.